everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a question that comes up all the time when we talk about health, especially chronic conditions like diabetes. And that is type 2 diabetes genetic? Or is it caused by diet? But before we get into that, we have created a free detailed PDF fact sheet for you to download, and the link is pinned in the comments. Now, you might have heard someone say, well, it runs in my family, so I was always going to get it. But here's the thing, that's not the full story. In fact, what's on your plate might matter far more than what's in your DNA. Let's unpack this. Yes, genetics do play a role. If you have a parent with type 2 diabetes, your risk definitely increases. And if both parents have it, your chances are even higher. Scientists have found hundreds of genetic variations linked to diabetes, and one of the strongest is a gene called TCF7L2. That gene affects how your body produces insulin, which is a major factor in blood sugar control. But here's the twist, just because you have that gene doesn't mean you'll get diabetes. In fact, many people with those risk genes never develop it at all. So what makes the difference? Lifestyle, behavior, daily choices. There's a saying, genetics might load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. And that couldn't be more true when it comes to type 2 diabetes. Let's talk about how behavior fits into all of this. Think about how you grew up. If your family had a diet full of fast food, sugary drinks, and processed snacks, there's a good chance you picked up those same habits. And those habits can be just as powerful as any gene. One study found that people with diabetic parents often follow similar eating patterns, not because of their DNA, but because of how they were raised. What we learn about food as children tends to stick with us, even if we don't realize it. And if you're still not convinced that lifestyle matters more than genetics, let me tell you about the Pima Indians. This is one of the clearest examples of how diet can outweigh DNA. In Arizona, a group of Pima Indians eats a typical Western diet, lots of processed foods, high sugar, high fat, and they have one of the highest rates of type 2 diabetes in the world. But another group of Pima Indians lives in rural Mexico. They share the same genes, but their diet is traditional, based on beans, corn, and vegetables. And guess what? Their diabetes rates are dramatically lower. Same genetics. Completely different outcomes. All because of diet. So if you're thinking, well, it's in my bloodline, there's nothing I can do, let me stop you right there. You absolutely can do something. In fact, you can do a lot. There was a major study called the Diabetes Prevention Program that looked at people who were at high risk of developing type 2 diabetes. The researchers wanted to see what worked best to prevent it. And the results were stunning. People who made lifestyle changes, like eating a healthier diet and exercising regularly, cut their risk by more than half. Over 50% lower risk. And here's the kicker, this was true regardless of their genetic background. Other studies have found that losing just 5 to 10% of your body weight can make a huge difference in preventing or delaying diabetes. Choosing whole foods over processed ones, think vegetables, legumes, nuts, whole grains, can improve your insulin sensitivity. And something as simple as walking 30 minutes a day can significantly reduce your risk. You don't have to run marathons or eat like a monk. Small, consistent changes are powerful. So what does all this mean? It means that if type 2 diabetes runs in your family, it's not your destiny. It's a warning. And more importantly, it's an opportunity. It's your chance to break the cycle. To make choices your future self and your future family will thank you for. Because here's the bottom line, what matters most is not what's in your DNA, but what's on your plate. So let's recap a few quick truths. You might inherit a higher risk, but you don't inherit the disease itself. The food habits you grow up with are just as influential as your genes. Healthier choices really do work, even if both your parents had diabetes. And prevention is possible. It starts with awareness, and it grows with action. So if this video gave you something to think about, give it a like, Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me one healthy change you're making this week. Remember, your genes are just one chapter. You get to write the rest of the story. See you in the next one.